For months, Russian soldiers thought they were safe behind the front lines, sleeping in warehouses, refueling tanks, moving supplies under the cover of night. Then came November 2025, and with it, the FP-2. An unmanned bomber the size of a pickup truck, carrying over 100 kilograms of explosives, guided by Ukrainian operators hundreds of kilometers away. Within days, fuel depots vanished, command posts burned, and the entire Russian rear line plunged into panic. Today, you'll see how the FP-2 turned logistics into a target, and why Moscow's army now fears the silence above their heads. The FP-2 was born from practical necessity, a platform able to cross the so-called logistical gray zone and detonate where the enemy felt safe. Developed by the Ukrainian company Firepoint, the same outfit behind the Flamingo missile, the FP-2 is less an evolution and more a reimagining of the unmanned bomber concept. Where there used to be light swarms and cheap FPV platforms, the FP-2 brings a leap in scale and lethality. Physically, picture a small vehicle, roughly the size of a pickup truck, with long wings and sturdy landing gear for improvised touchdowns. Its core is designed to carry 105 kilograms of explosives, a payload between 10 and 20 times that of a typical FPV drone. For practical purposes, two numbers govern its usefulness: payload, 105 kilograms, and operational range, about 200 kilometers. Those 200 kilometers let it reach a critical band of targets. Depots and logistics nodes behind the front line, out of reach of forward patrols, but still within a depth that allows immediate strategic effect. Tactically, that means the FP-2 can turn a resupply route into an ambush without needing to penetrate deep into enemy territory. The guidance system is modular. Firepoint designed two variants for distinct missions. The autonomous version is optimized for fixed targets and runs on pre-programmed profiles, infrared sensors, and approach algorithms that maintain accuracy even under partial jamming. The manual control version keeps a secure link to human operators and is used against moving targets, allowing real-time corrections when the situation changes. On top of that, the FP-2 was built with redundancy: high-performance inertial systems, infrared seekers for terminal guidance, and encrypted data links that permit remote command and diagnostics. That technical combination is what turns 105 kilograms of explosives into disproportionate tactical effects. In November 2025, the first coordinated operations with the FP-2 were carried out under the command of the SBU and joint Ukrainian units. The missions followed a pattern: detailed intelligence, positioning the platforms in holding areas, and launching at dusk when supply routes were most vulnerable. The chosen targets were fuel depots, maintenance centers, drone hangars, and command posts behind the line of fire. Footage released by the SBU, thermal imagery, and fixed camera scenes shows the unmistakable signature of a high-mass explosive impact: columns of fire erupting from depots, intense flames licking roofs, and internal structural collapses. Those images served two purposes: to prove the material effect and to amplify the psychological impact. Troops who once slept safely in depots began waking with the sense that danger might come from above. Logistics is the backbone of any operation. Without fuel, vehicles stop moving. Without ammunition, guns fall silent. Without automated command, centers coordination withers. The FP-2 was designed precisely to exploit that dependence. By striking depots and supply nodes, the drone turns the so-called safe zone, the logistical triangle that feeds the front, into exposed vulnerability. From an operational point of view, the effects are immediate: temporary collapses in resupply, stalled fuel convoys, tactical redistribution of fuel that overloads alternate routes and increases exposure to enemy fire. Simply put, a well-supplied front line depends on a reliable rear. When that rear burns, the front line loses far more than materiel. It loses tempo, initiative, and morale. A single FP-2 costs about $55,000 to produce. The targets it destroys, depots, tanker trucks, maintenance centers, add up to millions in value on top of operational costs and the tactical delay they cause. That cost-benefit forces Moscow to waste resources on static protection, shifting air defenses to the rear, beefing up convoy escorts, multiplying rail escorts, and paying political and financial premiums. At the limit, the strategy forces the enemy to choose between accepting recurring losses or inflating logistical defense to unsustainable levels. Each FP-2 lost remains cheap compared to the damage it inflicts. Each target lost is a direct blow to operational time and to the Russian budget. It is a war of financial and perceptual attrition where the Ukrainian advantage grows with every supply route that stops functioning. But the FP-2 is only the tip of the iceberg. Ukraine has been building a complete web of military innovation that balances offense and defense. The same company that created the FP-2, Firepoint, is also responsible for the Flamingo missile, a long-range strike weapon with combined guidance, GPS, inertial, and optical, capable of hitting targets more than 400 kilometers away. It is the perfect complement to the FP-2. While the drone hunts the logistical rear, the Flamingo goes after strategic infrastructure, bridges, barracks, and airstrips. But the country did not stop at a fence. In parallel, Kyiv has been erecting a layered defense system against Russian and Iranian drones, especially the Shahed 136 used to saturate cities and power plants. That defense mixes optical sensors, mobile radars, GPS jammers, and mobile teams armed with heavy machine guns and automatic cannons. In short, the same minds designing the offensive weapon are drawing the shield that protects it. This integration, precision strike and adaptable defense, shows that Ukraine is not merely reacting to war, but redefining how a nation at war can innovate under pressure. If the FP-2 represents technical innovation, the program Army of Drones represents human innovation. Created by the Ministry of Digital Transformation of Ukraine, it turns drone operators into a kind of real-time wargamer. Each pilot earns points based on confirmed results, armored vehicles destroyed, barracks hit, confirmed casualties. Those points are converted into credits used to acquire new drones, batteries, sensors, or even more powerful armaments. The system creates a cycle of motivation and efficiency. Those with good results receive better equipment, further increasing their effectiveness on the battlefield. In September, official data showed the impact of this model. More than 18,000 Russian soldiers killed or wounded just in operations conducted by drone units. It is a brutal but modern form of performance-based reward, and it works. The program also reduces bureaucracy. An operator does not need to wait for a chain of command to approve every purchase. He or she uses their points and receives the material through civilian logistics. Instead of a rigid army, Ukraine created a decentralized ecosystem where each unit acts like an armed startup, fast, adaptable, and results-driven. The gamification of war also has a psychological effect. It turns operators into methodical hunters obsessed with efficiency. This reduces the time between developing a new technique and its real-world application. What is a field test today becomes an operational standard tomorrow. The FP-2 was born in that same environment, a prototype turned frontline weapon in a matter of months. The true strength behind all of this is standardized domestic production. Every drone, missile, or defense system is built inside Ukraine using commercial components and reverse engineering to avoid external dependency. That enables scale and adaptation, something the Russian army, hampered by bureaucracy and industrial corruption, simply cannot match. While Moscow takes months to replace a batch of armored vehicles, Kyiv can prototype, test, and produce a new drone model in weeks. It is that speed that turns innovation into strategic advantage and makes each new system, like the FP-2, feel like the start of a new tactical era. The war Moscow expected to win through brute force is turning into a war of budgets. Each Ukrainian drone strike doesn't just destroy infrastructure, it drains billions of rubles in reconstruction, fuel, and defense. With sanctions still bleeding foreign trade and energy exports declining, analysts are already pointing to a sharp slowdown in the Russian economy over the coming months. Meanwhile, Ukraine spends less than $60,000 per FP-2 unit to inflict damage worth tens of millions. That difference is devastating. Russia pours money into expensive defense systems, S-400s, Pantsers, and high-power radars, trying to intercept drones that cost less than a fighter jet's fuel tank. Every Ukrainian launch becomes an asymmetric exchange, intelligence and ingenuity against weight and waste. On paper, Moscow still has industrial power, but in practice, it's trapped in an outdated model, expensive, slow, and dependent on parts that war and sanctions have made scarce. The FP-2 doesn't act alone. It's part of a layered war architecture Ukraine has built. On the front line, small FPV drones carry out precision strikes and reconnaissance, taking out vehicles and positions at minimal cost. In the mid-rear zone, the FP-2 hunts depots and convoys up to 200 kilometers away. At long range, the Flamingo, Sea Baby, and naval attack drones strike airbases and refineries deep inside Russia. That combination creates a battlefield where no place is truly safe. Russia now faces a distributed threat, where the enemy doesn't come in armored columns, but in waves of technology. A war where the entire map is a danger zone, and the enemy might be nothing more than a radio signal in the sky. In the end, the FP-2 represents more than just a weapon. It symbolizes a paradigm shift. Ukraine has turned vulnerability into advantage, proving that in modern warfare, victory doesn't belong to the strongest, but to the fastest to adapt. What began with improvised drones and limited budgets has evolved into an ecosystem of military engineering that is rewriting the rules of war. With every new weapon created, Moscow loses a bit more of its narrative and strategic control. And that raises the question echoing across the West. With creativity as its main weapon, how far can Ukraine take this fight? While Russia struggles to survive on land, China has just discovered that the sea is no longer safe either. The United States and its allies are building an invisible wall of missiles across the Pacific, and Australia has just become the key piece in this new era of deterrence. Click now on the video. China's Navy just realized they're trapped. US built an invisible missile wall, and see how the global military balance is changing right before our eyes. And don't forget to subscribe to the Military Ground. See you there.